In the spring of 1883, a meeting between two women changed forever New York's elite society.
I pray this token of my respect for you is kept in strict confidence until our association is officially announced. I woke this morning with sunlight streaming into my bedroom. The light made a fragrance of colors from the tapestry of my floor. I picked the pattern with a designer whose origin the tapestry came from. I would not do any less than you, Mrs. Astor. You and you alone have set the course in our orbit to follow. We are rich. Our husbands have amassed wealth by their sweat and blood for us to live above like Olympus, guiding those below.
You need not worry, Mrs. Vanderbilt. Your token will not leave my lips. You do not address me in a formal manner, as one would normally know to do. I should not be surprised. The word rich is not used, my dear. We are blessed, decreed by a deity to be the light that honors all our earthly glory, be it Yahweh or Zeus.
Yet in Olympus, you and I do not touch. We are strangers under the same roof.
And will remain so until you prove otherwise. You have the ticket, but not the invitation to fully enter my world.
I'll get it.
Like those I see coming ashore day after day. In buckets they come, ragged, hungry, unwashed.
Speaking gibberish from countries ripe with culture. I assure you, Mrs. Astor, my French is better than any native from Cambrasis.
Recitation will not secure a resolution to what you seek. I give you credit for understanding our problem, but that is to be expected.
Very well. You make it sport to convince you. I will find common ground for us both, one you won't refuse.
I knew you'd be entertainment for me somehow. I await your deception with growing curiosity.
What you doing, Colleen?
Homework before I go to the factory. My lessons end at noon, and I'll catch the streetcar to the factory in time for my shift. You slept late from finishing those clothes being picked up from the wash.
You have your breakfast?
Bacon and eggs with black coffee. Left you a plate on the stove.
My Lord love you. You're a blessing from the angels this morning.
You gave me life and I'm in your debt forever.
My pleasure.
Lessons isn't mischief, Mother. If anything, I stay more awake than I do with my hands dumped in pig fat or my face covered over a vat of lye.
What mischief that school get you doing this time?
You got 1 yard of rope to tie a bundle of wood planks to go in each of the 3 rows set for pickup. If the foreman asks for 15 bundles to be made and divided for each row, how much rope will you need and how many bundles do you put in each row?
What's the calculation you're doing now?
You can shake a stick at that problem, Mother. It's so easy.
You lost me at the start of the job. What else they got to drive a soul to drink?
I got a poem to read in class, too. It's from Nathaniel Hawthorne called "Oh, Could I Raise the Darkened Veil."
Well, listen to you now, sharp as a butcher's knife with your smarts.
It's beautiful, Mother. I wrote it down from the blackboard. Listen. Oh, could I raise the darkened veil which hides my future life from me? Could unborn ages slowly sail before my view, and could I see?
That sounds cheery.
Where is he on a ship, and where did it say he's looking for a new home? That's the poem you say to me all the time. From Kilhern.
That's a good one. I like the story. A man leaving on a ship to find a new home.
Nathaniel Hawthorne.
And it's from Kilhern you and I come. No better place to be liven. And as for your Nathan Hawborn...
How'd he come to live in Kilhern? It's a fact he wasn't born there. Where did he come from?
Darcus Riley be a better poet than him.
That be a fact you be his friend. You got a picture of you and him. I saw it.
Unlike your man, he sailed from an island far from our shores, docked his ship on the rocks and walked into Kilhern looking for lodgings. We didn't take to strangers and, by God, he was the strangest we'd ever seen. But you can't know a cow if you don't drink the milk. So we drank his and made a friend for life and turned out to be a poet, without a drink of whiskey for encouragement.
You got it hidden under your rosary box on the dresser. He's dark, Mother. He's a dark man. What made you take up with him?
He was a good-looking man, Colleen Downleany, and your father would fight any man in the village who'd say a bad word about him. The two of them fished on the cove most days with a pint between them. He loved my cooking, and I loved his poetry. Men in Kilhern don't see much of women thinking about anything but washing, cooking, and having babies. Darkus saw something in me. I got my spine from him. So, when you look deep into my eyes, when you unnerve me for something you do that is questionable, that flash of fire you see burning inside these peepers was stoked by his fire for me. There's more to being Irish than a wink and a laugh if you're a woman. There's courage. Now go ready yourself for work, and you need to empty the closet.
Ah, fudge! I gotta go to school!
You did your business when you got up, and you're going to leave it for me to throw away? Be thanking God you can do it inside a warm house than sharing with the whole building standing outside in the cold. Go on.
Is Darkus Riley his real name? He's not Irish.
His real name I couldn't pronounce, neither could anybody else. So we got his last name from the Rileys that's next door. Since he always said he was darker than all of us, we put that together for his first name. We made a whole new man.
I can't believe I'm reading this. I couldn't imagine she would actually do what she plans. What gall she has!
I see you received my letter.
It was dropped this morning between my prayers and breakfast. I wouldn't stop doing either. And I'm questioning my reason for leaving a half-painted canvas to do it now. I took your word. You pleaded our association be in secret until it was decided I was satisfied with you.
What better to make an announcement than in the newspapers?
That's not the way it's done, Mrs. Vanderbilt. We don't announce ourselves like we're a circus coming to town.
I've changed all of that. I had the reporters come into my home and instructed them to write what they saw. Everything that's hung from the ceilings, that decorates the walls, that graces the tables and draped across the floors. My house was theirs. I live in a palace just as you do. But I welcome the attention and the awes it gives to the people who can't live this way. My house is 6 blocks long. Yours is 7. I fancy a cathedral style, where you fancy a chateau.
Your husband's railroads and steamships bought you your dwelling.
Dead animal skins bought you yours.
Now for your ball. Your food and drink?
The finest in New York.
Your entertainment?
The orchestra from the Nocturne School of Music. The conductors from Vienna.
The invitations? Now, if you devoted that attention to detail like you would a laundry list, your ball will be attended by a party of 1. Yourself. In costume.
You should be receiving your invitation at the proper time. Oh, let's spoil the surprise and read it to you now. The honour of your presence is requested at the Vanderbilt Costume Ball to be given at 660 Fifth Avenue, March 26th at 8 p.m. The card is linen and the writing is gold leaf.
I now know it won't be a disaster. Mr. Astor is vacillating between Napoleon Bonaparte or Henry VIII.
I'll let you guess mine.
Not much in guessing the rear end of a horse, my dear. Till then.
Don't die before.
Will you look at these people acting like children, waiting for St. Nicholas to walk up the steps?
This is Christmas, Mama. Just look at the presents being driven up to the door. Did you see the flowers? Orange, blue, red. Some as tall as the top of your head and wide as you can stretch out your arms. Pause. Oh, look. A band is coming up now. Look at their instruments. Violins, trumpets, all gold and shiny.
The delivery wagons are lined up like a funeral march. What in hell's bells is the butcher wagon doing here?
He's delivering the food. Every rich person in the city will be here tonight. They got to eat.
Well, good. You're getting yourself some air so you can calm your head. Let's move away from this hullabaloo.
There's not a wedding or a funeral I've ever been that will best this ball. A real live fairy tale is going to happen in there, Mama, and I am going to see it.
On your mind's eye, you'll see. You're imagining right now the Queen herself will come riding up the street, get off her horse, walk up them steps and be shown through the door.
Mrs. Vanderbilt is a queen. So's Mrs. Astor. I know you don't like royals because of the family and all, but here, our royals are people like us.
They say they were born poor and got rich from their wits and backbone, but soon after they put on airs and strut around like they'd been kicked in the arse.
Mother!
No mama now. I say the truth and it's mother again. Which one will it be, Colleen?
Do you have to tell the truth so forthright? It means to be direct, and you don't beat around the bush when you do.
What do you want to know, girl? Truth or pretend? You do your work at home for me and your job at the factory all good and proper. But your schoolwork, you treat like it was a diamond you found on the beach. You hold it so close. You love it like a child.
I do. I do very much love it. It opens up the whole world to me. I can talk to people other than the ones on our block. One day on the streetcar, I talked to a man who writes books. He travels all over the world finding things buried in the ground. We talked the whole ride. I can't have such a conversation with Mr. Dushenheim or Mrs. Carzoni. Patty and Billy aren't much better, and they're my friends.
You're getting your spine. You're finding more to know than cooking, washing and having babies.
It's not pretend I want.
It's a mother's own fear for her child to fail to say what is the truth. Don't ask me why we do. You're going to be at that ball.
How?
You're going to tell this Mrs. Vanderbilt who you are and what you can do in a kitchen. If it's washing her pottery or preparing her meals, you'll be the one doing it. We're going home and write a letter. Then you are going to come back here and slide it under her front door. Then you stand there and wait till she gets it. You'll already be dressed and ready to work. You don't move from that door. That may not be the way it's done with the royals we have here, but no one ever stopped a down leanie from changing tradition. Let's go home.
I want you with me.
Oh, I'll be with you. You're taking my black and white pudding and putting it with the other dishes they're serving. Sneak it in with the ham and turkey I saw being brought in. It will represent me better than anything in the flesh.
I love you, Mama.
Est-ce que tu passes un bon moment?
Mi sto divertendo moltissimo.
Was that Italian you spoke?
Was that French you spoke?
Yes. Just look, Mrs. Astor, the 400th.
Mingling and dancing like I've never seen them do before. Like they've gone to heaven.
Who wouldn't feel this way? They're in costume representing most of the monarchies of Europe or the heroes of fables. Joan of Arc, Louis XIV, Puss in Boots. My mother-in-law is the Statue of Liberty. Her torch lights up by batteries.
Who's Diablo?
Miss Bessie Webb.
Fitting she be a demon. Can be rather hell dealing with her at times. I must compliment you on your Mère Antoinette.
And you as the Queen of Sheba. Won't Mr. Astor be concerned about your attention from the other males?
I made him a promise we'd have a private meeting if he allowed me to wear it. Let them look all they want. This ball is a triumph. An absolute triumph. Your choice of food, flowers, music, even the wines.
The wines, I must admit, are joyous.
The blood of Christ.
A close description.
Just look at their faces. Powdered and painted. If I didn't know who they were, I'd swear I was looking into the past. Who's the black one talking in the corner with Mrs. Fish? His colour is almost real.
It is real. He's a Maharaja staying at his embassy while visiting New York. He lends authenticity.
You're a breath of spring, Alva. An awakening to a sleeping horde of decaying dilettantes. They've danced to my tune for so long, even I've grown accustomed to it.
There was nothing before you, Caroline.
Not true.
All we had was money. With the link to those ancestors with the blood of kings you worked to find, now we have class to go with wealth. You, Caroline, made that happen.
If I listen to you any more, we'll be friends for life. It's time we go to dinner. Would I be out of place to make the announcement?
It's customary that the butler does, being by your rules.
What was it you said about change? At this point of being wined and danced into gaiety, no one will give a damn. Ladies and gentlemen, dinner is served.
Ma'am.
I heard noises and came in to see. The last of my guests have gone, and I was making sure none were rummaging inside my kitchen.
Just finishing up the dishes and stowing away the food. There's plenty.
Not nearly enough. I have none left in the dining hall. It's total empty. You're new to me. How did you come to be here?
I applied for the job.
Applied? No one applies for work in my home. You are recommended. What house have you served in?
Ma'am, you're my first. I wrote you a letter asking I work the ball in your kitchen.
You. It was your letter Jarvis nearly broke his neck to run and give to me.
Is he all right?
No, he didn't run, actually. And he didn't hurt himself. No one runs in my home ever. It's a figure of speech for the dramatic. Your letter was the talk of the servants' quarters.
You read it.
You're here, aren't you? You've been schooled, are you still?
Yes, I go every day except Saturdays and Sundays.
If you're not a servant, how do you live?
I work at Mulberry's Soap Works. I make soap.
Ah, that's why I smell lavender in the kitchen. I was sure there had been flowers in here. You're clean and you're intelligent. Good.
May I continue in here so I can finish and go home, ma'am?
Are you tired?
No, ma'am.
Am I boring you?
Oh, no, you're not boring, mister.
Then let me look at you for a moment. I don't converse with servants. You're making history. I've abandoned my costume so I can sit comfortably in a chair. Come sit with me at the table.
The ball was wonderful, ma'am.
Mrs. Vanderbilt. I love the sound of my name and love having others say it. What is yours?
Colleen Downleany, Mrs. Vanderbilt.
You're Irish, bonkers. Where's your red hair and freckles?
I wasn't born with red hair and freckles. People are misinformed about that and Irish.
Where do you hail from?
Kilhern. You wouldn't know it.
I'm from Mobile, Alabama. Know where that is? It's south. Born and raised on a plantation with my mother and father, Marsu and Parti, my nicknames for them. What do you call your parents?
My father, I call Daw. He's still in Kilhern. My mother, I call Mama. She's the best. She helped me write the letter.
She's smart like you. So, you loved the ball. You had to spend all of your time in this kitchen. You weren't costumed, so you could not serve my guests. You would have spoiled the effect.
I know. It was just enough that I was here. I put my ear to the door and heard the music and the people talking.
The papers were here. You can read about it. May I call you by your first name?
Sure, I'll still call you Mrs. Vanderbilt.
Colleen, what do you want to do with yourself? I can tell immediately in conversation what someone wants of me or of themselves. Making soap isn't yours.
It helps that I do. But if you're asking what I'm looking for, I'm looking to serve a lady. Be at her side to keep her things in order. I've seen some girls at the factory do that in the office. I know everything they do. I can even sign.
Sign?
Yes. Some workers on the floor talk to each other that way. They speak with their hands. It's fun. Can I show you?
Please. What did you say?
I signed good morning.
Bonkers, how did you learn to do that?
An Oriental that works with me. You can't hear what is being said because it's so loud down on the floor. She and I can talk to each other with no interference. It's bonkers.
Oh, you like my little saying? I'm in the 400. The ball got me in. I made it into Mrs. Astor's orbit and I'm circling the heavens. I'm hungry. I want something. Didn't you bring a meal with you at the door? Jarvis said you had it with you when he let you in.
Black and white pudding. Mama made it. I sneaked it between the other foods you were having.
Frightful. I couldn't tell the difference between Delmonico's and your mother's. What do you suggest?
I can put a plate together for you with what's on the counter there.
Good. You like champagne?
In the morning?
You've never had it, have you?
No.
Rise, Colleen, and come with me. We're going into the dining room, where there are gold glasses on the table and a bottle of Chateau Petrus still chilled. We will pour a glass and then return back here, where you will prepare us a plate of black and white pudding and stuff ourselves.
Can you do this? Is it allowed?
My dear, I'm Mrs. Vanderbilt. I can do anything.